Well, I'm delighted to welcome Jeff Patmore to Warwick Business School. Jeff is the head of strategic university research at BT Group and is the guest speaker for tonight's WBS forum. The topic of that forum is Enterprise 2.0. Will it really deliver? Jeff, could you give us a brief overview of your presentation?
Yeah, of course we can. We've been thinking about the use of Web 2.0 tools within the company and how we can use those to really enhance how people work. And that's everything from wikis to blogs to social networking sites. And how we can get all those to work together as a package of support tools for our people, initially in research, but then gradually rolling that out more widely across the company so that the whole company gets to use those tools.
I mean, this is a really interesting area because people have talked about the promise of this technology for quite a long time, and we're still trying to realise it. I suppose one of the concerns that people have at the moment, given the current economic climate, is, do you think companies are really prepared to embrace new technology? Are they going to be much more conservative in their approach?
I think actually it's the right time to do it. There are potentially not only business advantages for companies in acquiring new work, but actually real opportunities to save cost as well. So in today's financial situation, the ability to make people far more efficient by actually just giving them different ways to work. It's the work smarter, not faster, which I think we've all smiled about in the past. But this really does allow you to work in a more efficient way.
Can it really do? I mean, you think about people chatting away on instant messenger or contacting their friends through Facebook and so on. How's that going to help their efficiency?
It's about networking. We're in a world of increasing complexity. In my domain, which is essentially about ICT solutions, ICT is incredibly wide. It underpins just about everything today. And the levels of complexity just go up every year. I mean, Moore's law just continues to operate. Every 18 months, things double up. And when you've got that level of complexity, then individuals cannot be experts in everything. I mean, it's absolutely impossible. One of the things we look for, and I'll talk about it later, are T-shaped people. This comment that came from IBM. You want deep knowledge in one area, but you also want a broad knowledge. And to do that, you have to operate through networks. It's the only way you can do that, networks of people. So how do you maintain those networks when potentially you don't see people very often? Because you can't get together every day. It'd be lovely to do a face-to-face conversation every day, but we can't do that. So how do we replicate that conversation around the water cooler when people are perhaps thousands of miles away? And social networks can fulfil that. They can allow you to stay in contact, to allow you to see what others are doing.
But can everyone do this? Because I'm very conscious that being of a slightly older generation myself than many of my colleagues, a lot of my colleagues are using things like Facebook and so on, or LinkedIn, and they're very comfortable with this technology. But isn't there a bit of a generation gap between older and younger employees?
Well, firstly, let me say I've been on Facebook a long time. I've been involved in the internet a long time, and I'm 57, so I don't think there's a great age thing there. And interestingly, the largest growth in any group on Facebook, take for instance, are the over 30s. So there's this perception it's for young people. But no, I don't think it is. I think anybody can use it. So
anyone can use it, anyone can develop and build these social networks, but are they really resilient in the face of the kind of changes we have at the moment? I mean, when you lose large numbers of people in a company, don't you start to find gaps in the social networks within that company?
Well, then again, that's where the whole managing of knowledge within a company becomes so important. So actually getting people to write things down, and this is where we're using wikis and blogs. Because you can actually get information down very quickly. I worked on quite a complex paper just recently with a couple of my researchers, and within a day and a half it was finished. We'd sketched the thing out. We'd almost whiteboarded, if you like, on a wiki. We'd all gone away then to our separate areas, our offices, our different places of work. We'd all worked on it, and then within a day and a half you got a complete report. It allows you to be incredibly efficient. So
these are these kind of much vaunted collaboration tools that people talk about that allow people to work together much more effectively, more intensively, and hopefully produce high quality results as a consequence of that.
I mean, I think there's always a bit of a concern with take the wiki, for instance. Can I keep it as a document where I know which version I'm on? I can track who's made changes. in reality, some of the really good wiki tools that are out there, the sort of thing that Wikipedia uses, there's a superb tracking system in the back that actually monitors exactly who's made a change and what that change was, and allows you to go back if you want to. Very powerful tool.
And yet, I mean, there's a certain scepticism on the part of some commentators, certainly myself, that we see these new waves of technology coming through on the internet, and every few years something new comes along. And a few years ago it was blogs, and now it's wikis. And they don't always kind of realise the potential that people talk about for them. I mean, how do we distinguish, the really useful benefits of these technologies from the hype?
No, absolutely. And firstly, let's look at the timescale. Take Wikipedia and MediaWiki, which has come out of that, the wiki tool. 2001, Wikipedia was launched. That's now coming 8 years ago. And this is a mature tool. It's been about a long time. It has an enormous amount of users. So, and you even look at YouTube, 2004. So, again, 5 years that tool's been around. These are becoming very, very mature tools. We tend to think of them as only appearing fairly recently because the numbers of users have only gone up to astronomical levels just recently. But they've been about quite a long time. And in fact, the earliest wiki was back in the 1990s. So they've been about a long time.
So they're to be used and they're to be applied, but what kind of changes are they going to make in the way people work? And actually, do they mean a big change in the forms of organisation we have?
Yes, I think they do. Yeah, it enables people. I mean, this is, I think, what we're seeing. One of the things I'll talk about later is what we're calling employee 2.0, and I hate tagging 2.0 on the end of anything, but it gives it good visibility. What does a future employee look like in our large corporations? What we have to look at is what do your students use? And they use a tremendous range of communication tools. They'll instant message one another, they'll text one another, they'll use social networks, they'll use email, they'll use whatever's best at the time. And in fact, when they come into business, if they don't see the same tools, then they actually feel as if their power's been taken away, their communication's been taken away. So we've got to understand how youngsters, people in their late teens, early 20s are communicating, and then make sure that we can actually provide very similar ways of communicating, and then we can get the best from them.
So does that mean flatter structures or different ways of working?
It certainly means different ways of working. There certainly is a culture change associated with this, and some people adapt to the culture change much more quickly than others. But I think the key in here is that we allow people to learn how good these tools can be. We don't impose them. I mean, one of the things within BT, we don't mandate that people use these new tools. We just put them out there and let people discover just how good they can be for them. And one will talk to another. The information spreads virally. And that's how the good news spreads. People say, I've been using this and it's great. And then people say, well, I'll try. So it's not about mandating use, it's just about letting the information spread.
You're giving a very positive and upbeat assessment of these tools, and obviously they have great benefits for BT and other organisations. Are there no downsides? Are there no negative implications of these tools?
I suppose the only downside we could say is that there are no standards as such yet. So, for instance, whether you choose one wiki or another, or one blog or another, is really up to you at the moment, and choose the best one probably for you. It would be nice, I think, as we move forward, is if, for instance, the World Wide Web Consortium would start to look at standards for some of these tools, because that would mean people would feel more comfortable about support for them, and more comfortable about using them.
What about the implications for security and the integrity of company information? Aren't the challenges there? I mean, we've seen a lot of scandals in the last year or two with the governments losing significant amounts of data.
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the things, again, I'm going to show this evening is a portal which allows me on any machine that runs a browser to access my corporate information. It sets up a secure VPN and allows me to access my data. If I can access my data wherever I am, and I can, I just did it down in your lecture theatre. I went into my corporate information and was able to pull down corporate information. If I can do that, I don't need to put it on a memory stick. I don't need to print it out. It's always available. So actually, security gets better.
So they're actually, far from being a liability, they're an asset when it comes to
if you've got the right access. I mean, I stress we've worked for a long time to get this secure access. But if you've got the secure access, absolutely. It means you're not carrying information around. There is nothing on my laptop I'll show you my laptop later if you like.
Yeah,
There is
sure.
nothing on it.
Wow.
It merely runs a browser because I
Wow.
don't need anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if my laptop's stolen, they've just got a laptop. There's no information on it.
Right. And therefore, a lot of the problems that people have had actually simply wouldn't occur.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, just a final couple of thoughts really in terms of where we're going with this technology, because we're always looking at the implications of these new internet-based technologies for business, and hence the term Enterprise 2.0. Do you think we're really starting to see, the implications of these technologies for the way businesses work, or is this part of a much longer-term process?
I think there's more to come. And certainly the embracing of these tools is happening amongst large organisations. I spent time last week with GE and just before Christmas with IBM. Okay, very large organisations. They're actually 3 times the size of BT. These were over 300,000 employees. Yeah. But they've embraced this technology, absolutely. Because sharing knowledge across a company is key. And identifying experts within a company is also absolutely key. And these tools allow you to do that.
And if you identify experts, that presumably means that you have much better access to the kind of knowledge and information which helps drive the business forward.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.